No, I'm.
Okay, 1 and 2 we had done in our notes earlier when they give you the roots or the zeros and ask you to write a polynomial function. That's when you're going backwards. Your answer is going to be f of x is equal to something. Okay? Am I bothering you, Lindy? I'll stop and let you finish. Go ahead. Okay, so to write those zeros that they gave us as factors, we take the opposite sign. So for a -2, I'm going to have an x plus 2. For a -1, I'm going to have an x plus 1. The trick that we talked about when we did this exact same problem before is that if we have a negative I, we also have to have a positive I. Because to get an I, it comes from a square root. And when you square root, you can be positive or negative. So you're going to have an x plus I and an x minus I. Now to get this in standard form, you got to start multiplying. So I'm just going to FOIL the first two and get an answer for those. So to give me x squared, 1x and 2x is 3x, and then 2 times 1. Now I got to do the same thing here. The good thing about it with the i's or the square roots, either one, is it's going to cancel itself out. So I'm going to have this trinomial here. This gets me x squared minus xi and positive xi cancel out. Then I've got negative I squared. Well, I squared is the same as -1, so negative 1 is a positive 1. So now we've got to multiply those two things together. You can distribute it either way you want. I like to distribute the smaller one, so I'm going to do x squared times x squared times 3x, x squared times 2. Now with the 1 times x squared, 1 times 3x, and 1 times 2. Only like terms I have there are my x squareds. It said to write this as a polynomial function, so make sure you use your function notation. That's it.
You go up then.
Yep. The other way. That's good.
Not too
We get to use our notes on this round.
For the first 8, those blanks were too small for me. I couldn't fit all those
Is
answers
that an I
in.
to them?
Yeah, I did, but it's probably a little bit hard to
I'm going over here.
The blanks should be
I'm
bigger on
trying.
the test.
Do what now?
The blanks should be bigger on the test.
I think I want to say a lot of
do. Why are they so small?
I don't know. It's just those are the same size they always make. I guess they just didn't take into account these answers are bigger.
Yeah. Then you distribute that, and then you get the x to the 4.
Like you saying it.
Oh, really? Close to that, Rob.
You ain't gotta say it for the whole class, baby. You're not the big crowd.
I just. I couldn't tell later.
Wait.
I'll scan over.
Carbo.
Yeah, I'd leave my scan back over.
You give me wet. Spit a loop in your mouth.
Steve,
That'd be gross.
Well, it can.
Thanks,
Thank you for your time on that. We're taking that up. Reach your cost strategy down.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up there?
It's one of those square cans with the quantity in it. And one
Alright, number 2, same thing. To get a 0 before, you would have to come from x minus 4. Now I'm going to skip over to the -5, keep my rational numbers together. To get a 0 of a -5, it would have to be x plus 5. Then that radical, to get negative square root of 5, it would have to be x plus the square root of 5. And same thing with the i's. If you've got a negative square root of 5, you have to have a positive square root of 5. So x minus the square root of 5. Now it's the same thing as before. We're going to multiply the first two. So that gets me x squared plus 5x minus 4x is plus 1x, and then minus 20.
X squared plus
x squared. Negative x square root of 5 and a positive x square root of 5 cancel out. Then I've got a negative square root of 25, and the square root of 25 is 5, so minus 5. Now I'm going to distribute both of those to that trinomial. So it gets me an x to the 4th plus an x cubed minus a 20x squared minus a 5x squared minus a 5x plus 100. So for my final answer, I have f of x is x to the 4th plus x cubed minus 25 x squared minus 5x plus 100.
Pencil sharp.
Now on 3 through 8, it's just doing whatever operation it says to, either multiplying or dividing. Write the binomial twice.
More,
So we would write 2x minus 2 twice since it's squared. So then that would get me 4x squared minus 4x, and minus 4x is minus 8x plus 4. So that's all you would have on number 3.
Wait, why didn't we do the 2x to 2x and 2x to 2?
Just distribute that squared. Is that what you mean?
Like, wait, 2x to 2x, 2x multiplied by 2x is 4x squared.
Right.
And then why didn't we do 2x?
I didn't show my work. I'm sorry. I did. I got negative 4x and negative 4x, but I just knew that.
Okay, okay.
My bad.
That's where you're at.
Yeah.
Alright, question on this one all day long yesterday was what do you do with the exponents when you multiply, and it is add. So here when I distribute c times c, 8 and 2, I add those. So that'll make minus 4c to the 9th minus 2c to the 8th. And then I take the negative 6. Negative 6 times c squared. Positive 24c. Positive 12. No like terms, that's your answer.
We like terms.
There aren't any.
That's your answer.
Yep.
Yepper.
What a day. What a day. What a day.
Alright, on 5, it's a division problem. You can do long division or synthetic. 5 is okay for synthetic, so that's the way I did it. That's the way I'm going to go with you. The reason I know it's okay is because I'm dividing by x minus 4. That's a 1x to the first power, so that's okay for synthetic division. So I'm going to have 4x cubed, 20x squared, 12x, and negative 16. It's x minus 4, which means I put a positive 4 outside my box. Now this one doesn't say to solve or anything, it just says divide. So I only have to do the level of synthetic division one time. Okay?
I did.
So drop my 4 down. 4 times 4 is 16. Add and get 36. 36 times 4 was 144. Add and get 156. I did this yesterday, I don't just know these. 156 times 4 was 608. Nope, it wasn't, that's what I get. It was 624. 156 times 4 is 624. When I add that, I get the 608. Alright, so the directions just said divide. It didn't say solve or anything. So to write our answer, started off as a 4x cubed, which means this is 4x squared, 36x, constant of 156, a remainder of 608 over what I divided by. So all of that is your quotient.
What is it? I don't know.
All of
I don't
that.
know.
I wouldn't even know. I did, that was like one of the first.
Four X's. Then I knew that was.
Plus
That's
36
what I
x
meant.
plus 156 plus 608 over.
Not the
Oh,
wrong.
that's the remainder.
Yeah.
So we're gonna- that's what we're gonna-
Yeah, it was like-
So Trey, how would you solve
Before,
that?
yeah, before.
Did we do that in our notes already?
Yeah, you would have had to have taken the factors
number 5.
of 16 over the factors of 4 and did trial and error.
Oh, no.
Pretty much each difference.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, fractions.
Would it be a fraction then? Or would it be a fraction?
I don't know. I mean, obviously we know 4 doesn't work because we didn't get a 0 there. So, I don't know. I haven't solved it yet. Alright, on 6.
Donate it to a house.
Alright, I just worked left to right, multiplied two of them together, got an answer, and then multiplied it by the third one. Okay, so I'm going left to right here on these first two. B times B, 3B, and 3B is a 6B, and then 3 times 3. Okay, so that took those two out, but now I still got a B plus 2 to go with. So it's B cubed, 6B squared, 9B, take the 2 now, 2B squared, 12B, and 18. So you got 2 pairs of like terms there to combine. That'll get us a B cubed. 6B squared and 2B squared is 8B squared. 9B and 12B is 21B. And then your 18.
What do you?
Wait. Oh, wait, okay.
Get the 0.
Now when we get ready for 7 here in just a second, it's division and we cannot do synthetic. It has to be long because what we're dividing by has an x squared in it. I wish. Alright, so we're dividing by x squared minus 3x plus 1, so that's going to go outside my box. Inside my box, you should notice you've got a place you've got to put a 0. We've got a 3x to the 4th, a negative 2x cubed, a 0x squared, a positive 5x, and a negative 3. Don't forget your 0 in there. All long division starts with the first outside and the first inside. X squared times what gets me 3x to the 4th? Good job. So now we distribute that to all 3 of those pieces. 3x squared times x squared. 3x squared times negative 3x, and 3x squared times 1. Then what do? Say it again, Jody. Subtract. Good. Nothing. Negative 2 minus negative 9 is 7. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. I got 3 out there. Which means I gotta have 3 down here, so I only get to bring down 1 right now. Then I start over again. First one outside, first one down here. X squared times what is 7x cubed? Good, Dalton. You gotta distribute that 7x to all 3 of them. 7x times x squared. 7x times negative 3x. And 7x times 1. Gone. Negative 3 minus negative 21 gets me 18. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. Now bring down your negative 3. Gotta do it one more time. X squared times what gets me 18x squared?
What is it?
X squared times what gets me 18x squared? 18, so put an 18 up there. Got to distribute that to all 3 of them. 18 times x squared. 18 times negative 3, that's negative 54x. And 18 times 1. Subtracted on that, that's nothing. Negative 2 minus negative 54 is 52. And negative 3 minus 18 is negative 21. There's nothing else to bring down. We've already brought down everything, so that means this is your remainder. So to write your answer, you got what we had on top. So 3x squared plus 7x plus 18 plus my remainder over what I divided by. Yay for home division.
Not yet. I can't read. No. I was doing
Oh, that's good.
the alphabet.
Alright, on 8, it's got 3x plus 1 to the third, which means you have to take 3x plus 1 3 times. Don't just try to distribute the cubed. That means you got to write it that many times. Okay, so now it's like what we did with number 6. We're going to multiply the first 2 together and then multiply the last one. So this will give me 9x squared. This is a positive 3x, and this is a positive 3x, so that makes a positive 6x. And then there's 1. But now I got another 3x plus 1 I need to multiply that by. So this is 27x cubed, 18x squared, 3x, and then with my 1, 9x squared, 6x, and 1. So combine those two like terms and you'll have 27x cubed. 18 and 9 is 27x squared. 3 and 6 is 9x. And then your 1. made me second guess myself that my cubed and squared were both 27. I went back and checked it. It was weird to me for some reason.
What's that second one? 27.
27x squared, yeah.
Means that 9x plus 1.
Yeah, kind of looks like 9x 44 or something, doesn't it? Twenty-seven x squared.
Actually, it's January. It's January 26th, so it's really up
It's okay. College, so I should make it okay. I'm not going there, I'm just trying to
Alright, they gave you some pictures of some graphs on number 9. You do need those to answer part C, but you can get A and B just by looking at the equations. Okay? So on part A, it says how many zeros does each function have? Just by looking at the equations, they're fourth degree, which means they have 4. So that's your A answer is 4. Now, if you look at the graphs, they don't necessarily look like it, right? Why? What's that called when they've got more than one answer? Like an answer repeats itself. Starts with an M. Multiplicity. Okay, so you could look at the graph and say, well, it has 1 0, but it's got a multiplicity of 4 times. I think it's easier just to write 4 on that. Okay, then part B says describe the transformation of F represented by G. Well, we started off with just x to the 4th. This has got a plus 4 in with the x. Remember, when it's in with the x, it's left and right. Left and right goes the opposite of the sign. So it went left 4 units is what I wrote. Now on part C, I did use the graph on part C, so let me get us a, what?
4 circled.
That was part A answer. Okay, part C, it says determine the intervals for which the function g is increasing and decreasing. And on g, that line of symmetry right there is at -4. So if I read that graph left to right, it's going down first, and that's decreasing. So this would decrease on the left side of -4, which means when x is less than -4. Then once I get past -4, it starts going uphill, which means it's increasing on the right side of -4, which is when x is greater than -4. So that'd be your C answers. On the decreasing, yes.
No, if you can have some, you really probably have some.
Alright, on 10, we got the volume of a hot tub modeled by that equation. It says explain how you know x equals -5 is not a possible rational zero. And there's several different ways you could do it to show how it's not a zero. I use my synthetic division, 1x cubed minus 10x squared, 11x 70. And I did my -5 because that's what they told me to test. Now, some people had some good common sense and they said, well, I know it can't be a -5 because I'm a hot tub and a hot tub can't have a negative dimension. True, but if this is factors, you're going to have more than one. So it could be that it's a negative times a negative makes a positive. So you can't just use that all together. All right, drop your 1. 1 is -5 is -5. Add and get -15. -15 times -5 is 75. Add and get 86. 86 times -5 is -430. Add and get -360. So the question on part A said, explain how I know it's not a possible zero, because f of negative 5 equaled negative 360, not 0. So you could write that. It didn't equal 0, any way you want to write that. I actually added, I got f of negative 5 equals 360, and then I put comma, not 0. That was silly.
Why is it negative 5 in the top thing?
Because that's what the problem said on part A.
Oh, I see.
You got it.
I thought it was just wow. Stat. Is it illegal to stat?
Alright, part B says show that x plus 2 is a factor, and then factor completely. Okay, so I'm going to take the same synthetic stuff again. One, why is it now doing that? Negative
What numbers are numbers in?
hieroglyphics is what it looks like.
Song. Is that a 1? Dude.
Okay, it says show that x plus 2 is a factor. So if it's x plus 2, and I set that equal to 0, that means it's a negative 2. Good, Stephen, that goes outside. Drop my 1. 1 is negative 2 is negative 2. Negative 10 and negative 2 is negative 12. Negative 12 times negative 2 is 24. 11 and 24 is 35. 35 times negative 2 is negative 70. I add and get 0. So that shows that it is a factor because I got a 0. Then it says factor completely. These started off as x cubes, which means mine is an x squared, so I need the factors of 35 that add negative 12. Negative, so I'll have x minus 5 times x minus 7, factoring that quadratic, and then don't forget the factor they told you, x plus 2. So that would be your answer for factoring it completely. Factors of 35 that added negative 12, negative 5, and negative 7. I skipped the step of writing that as a quadratic. A times C, factors of 35 that added negative 12. Just skip that. Alright, we skipped 11, so you're looking at number 12. Says the graph of the cubic function. I didn't even notice it said that. That's pretty stupid that they put that in there. It says the graph of the cubic function f of x is shown. Describe the degree and the leading coefficient. They said it's a cubic function. So what does that tell you the degree has to be? 3. I didn't even catch that the first time. That's pretty stupid. So it is a degree of 3. That'd be your first answer on number 12. Then it says describe the leading coefficient. What you need to notice about the graph is that reading left to right, it goes uphill first, which means my leading coefficient has to be a positive number.
Yep. A positive.
Yep.
Wait, that's the answer?
That's the second answer.
The second answer.
First one's 3.
3, just 3. You are confused. What's the answer?
There's 2 answers.
Okay. Todd did look.
It looks
said
so
he's joking
confused.
with you, and he said,
Alright, on 13, G is the number in billions of new green T cells. J is the number in billions of fruit juice cells. During a 20-year period, G and J can be modeled by the following equation, where T is time in years. Find a new model, A, for the total number of new green and fruit juice sales. So all you're doing is wanting to combine them. So all you got to do for part A on 13 is add your like terms. So it said to name it A, so I'm going to say A of T, and then I'm just going to start combining like terms. I've got 6t to the fourth and 3t to the fourth. That'll be 9t to the fourth. Then I got negative 3t cubed and positive 3t cubed. That cancels out. Then I got a negative 2t squared and a positive 5t squared. That's a positive 3t squared. This is so off. Then I got positive 5t and negative 5t. That cancels. And then I got 60 and 45. That's 105. So that'd be your first answer for number 13. Then it says on part B, in our new function, is it even, odd, or neither? Remember what we did when we tested them to see if they were even or odd? Had to do with something in the variable. What did we do to the variable? It's one of the last things we did. What did we do to test if the function's even, odd, or neither? Very good, Jody. We just turned all the variables to negative. So I'm going to turn all these to negative. I'll have 9 times negative t to the fourth plus 3 times negative t squared plus 105. Now, when we have a negative to the fourth power, that turns it back positive. So that would be the same as 9t to the fourth. A negative squared is a positive. So that's the same as 3t squared. And then 105 didn't change. So I'm comparing this to that. If they're exactly the same, it's even. If they're exactly opposite, it's odd. If it's just different, but it's just different, it's neither. So it is even. Very good.
So it's odd. You can't close your eyes.
Alright, on the last one, we got a cylinder there. The function v of x equals 27x squared minus 9x represents the volume of the cylinder shown. The function v of x is equal to, or excuse me, w of x is equal to v of 1/3 of x represents the volume when x is measured in yards. So that's your conversion from feet to yards there. Write a rule for w and then find w of 15. So you've got two things to do on that. Okay, it says that w is 1/3 of v. So I'm going to take v and find what 1/3 of that would be. Okay, so 1/3 of 27 and 1/3 of 9x. So there's my new w of x. That's my first answer. Then the second answer, it says find w of 15. So for w of 15, I'm just going to plug 15s in. Did that, and I got 1,980 feet. You can check that in your calculator. 15 squared times 9 was 2,025. And then 3 times 15 was 45, and you subtracted those. Yeah, 1/3, because that's what the problem said, so I just distributed it. Alright, you'll be able to use notes and study guide if you want to.
Are we done?
That's the last one. You are